Fixing is an interesting word. Not only does it say what you're doing, but it implies why you're doing it. Because something is broken. So when I want to talk about fixing forensic science, does that mean that forensic science is broken? It's a good question. When the innocent are wrongfully imprisoned for 33 years based on junk science, or government forensic laboratories are being shuttered after shoddy work is exposed, problems within our discipline are occurring with regularity on every level of government. Federal, state, county, and municipal forensic laboratories across the nation have all been affected. We're even getting to the point where the same problems are occurring in different laboratories, showing that as a field, we're not learning from our mistakes. Despite this growing litany of failures, forensic science isn't broken. It's still a critical component of the criminal justice system, but it's getting harder to ignore the growing cracks in its foundation. If we don't discuss fixing those cracks, the system will start to fail. Just illustrating that point, if we look at the impact of just two of these failures. Over $6.2 million just to investigate the incidents. 61,000 drug charges overturned. 35,000 cases dismissed. The state might have to reimburse up to $10 million in court fees, fines, and other costs. The impact is staggering, and not the monetary, the impact in persons' lives and to the criminal justice system. To examine the problem further, let's use a little bit of a historical tool. Alphonse Bertillon was a clerk at the Paris Police Department. He developed the idea of the mugshot, which is still in use today. He also developed one of the first systems of human identification that was replaced by fingerprints at the turn of the century. One of Bertillon's lesser-known developments was a camera that he used at crime scenes to record a top-down view, or aerial view, of the victim as they were discovered. Bertillon called this the God's eye view because it allowed you to see the victim as God did. So let's channel Bertillon's and his God's eye view to look at our problems and see if we can get better perspective. My name is Brian Gestring, and I'm a consultant with Forensic Services. I've been a forensic scientist for 3 decades now and have been involved in nearly every aspect of the field, from processing crime scenes to supervising and managing some of the largest and busiest forensic laboratories in the country and managing a state's accreditation program. I've also been an academic, teaching both undergraduate and graduate coursework and directing a university forensic science program. The path of my career has given me a unique perspective on the challenges we face and the solutions that we can put in place. Thank you for joining me today to hear about how to fix forensic science by learning how to learn from our mistakes. We solve mysteries for a living, yet for some reason we're really bad at figuring out when things go wrong with the work that we do. If we adapt Bertillon's God's eye view, it becomes apparent that we're not learning from our mistakes. What do I mean by learning? Well, the thing that makes us different from all other species is our brains. Not that we have one, but what we can do with it. We can learn. We can learn from our own experiences. We can learn from the experiences of those around us. Unlike other species, we can even learn from people we've never met. And this allows us to learn from the collective wisdom of all that have come before us. Learning from our mistakes isn't new. Neither is sharing that information with others. But it seems like it took a while for what we do as individuals to be applied on a larger scale. Sakichi Toyoda is widely credited as one of the fathers of organizational learning. Toyoda was an inventor, the Japanese equivalent of Thomas Edison. While he has many inventions to his name, he is most known for the Model G loom. The Model G could run by itself like other looms of the time, but what made it new, what made it novel, and what made it different is a design philosophy that Toyota incorporated into it, known as Jidoka. What Jidoka meant is that it would actually stop production as soon as a problem was detected, because quality was much more important than quantity. He actually sold the patent for that in 1929, just before he died, and his son used the proceeds to start the Toyota Motor Corporation that we all know today. In keeping with Sakishi's quality philosophy, Toyota Corporation started a process called the 5 Whys to try and understand what really caused problems. The idea was if you kept asking why, you would truly understand what caused the problem. So if you encountered water on a floor, why was there water there? Well, an overhead pipe was leaking. Why was an overhead pipe leaking? There was too much water pressure in the pipe. Why was there too much water pressure in the pipe? Well, there was a faulty control valve. Why was there a faulty control valve? Well, because no one actually looks at the control valves. Why does no one look at the control valves? Well, they're not on a maintenance schedule. The 5 whys was an early start of something known as root cause analysis. The idea was that you only saw the symptoms of a problem, and as you started to dig, the real problem would come out. But by continuing to dig, you would actually come to the real root cause of the problem, what was making everything occur. This is not the totality of what root cause analysis is. It's just an early version in one methodology, but it really illustrates how you can actually get to the root of a problem and how the root of a problem is fundamentally different than what we sometimes encounter as the symptoms. Almost more amazing than Toyota's vision of aggressively looking into failures was how they engaged their entire staff in the process over 60 years ago, understanding that anyone at any level could stop an operation because of a quality problem, because quality was still more important than quantity. While the concept of root cause analysis isn't completely new to forensic science, it's really been slow to catch on. The ASCAD Lab legacy program required corrective action to fix problems, but never specified how the problem was identified. The American Board of Forensic Toxicology accreditation program included root cause analysis, but mistakenly believed it was only useful for proficiency test failures when the ground truth was truly known. Root cause analysis didn't really establish a foothold in forensic science until it was mandated by the International Accreditation Program in about 2005. Forensic scientists also became exposed to root cause when they started embracing business methodologies to combat growing evidence backlogs, since root cause is critical to any continuous improvement methodologies. Despite now being an accreditation requirement, there's still obstacles that forensic scientists have to overcome before they can start learning from their mistakes. While root cause analysis is an accreditation requirement, there's no universal requirement to be accredited, which means there's no universal requirement to perform root cause analysis. Even more troubling is many accreditation vendors have reverted to the practice of allowing forensic laboratories to selectively accredit laboratory sections instead of the entire laboratory, a case where even accreditation providers are having difficulty learning from their own mistakes. While there are many different methodologies and techniques for performing effective root cause analysis, we saw just a little taste before with the 5 whys, there's no requirement for current forensic scientists to receive any training in them. Future forensic scientists come from many different backgrounds, but it's not even a requirement for students that come from accredited forensic science programs to learn about root cause analysis. These weaknesses effectively remove our ability to learn from our own mistakes. There's also no mechanism for blame-free reporting. When a problem is identified, it's easier to blame and seem decisive than to identify the problem and fix it. Often the people that get blamed are the ones that discovered the problem, discouraging further reporting. At best, this ensures information about the problems will be siloed and that the problems will repeat themselves, as we've already seen evidence of. Institutionally, we've set up a system where we're discouraged from learning from our own mistakes, learning from those around us, or learning from those that come before us. Given these institutional limitations, our inability to fix mistakes is not surprising. To fix this problem, we can be told what to do, or we can take the initiative and address the problems ourselves. There are things we can do right away, and other things that'll take a little bit more time to do properly. To take the initiatives ourselves, forensic providers can embrace root cause analysis by formalizing their process and providing training to all of their staff. It's a mistake to limit continuous improvement to just the quality assurance team. Toyota was doing this over 60 years ago, and we don't have to wait to do this. No one has to tell us to do it. We can do this as soon as we are able to. Academic programs don't have to wait to include this in their curriculums. They're training the next generation of forensic scientists, and this is a critical tool that they need. FEPAC could even make this an accreditation requirement. These steps would cement our ability to learn from our mistakes and could happen quickly. To gain the ability to learn from the mistakes of others, we'll need to adapt a mechanism of consequence-free reporting, and that will be more challenging to establish and take some time to do properly. Other professions have consequence-free reporting mechanisms. In aviation, there's the Aviation Safety Action Programs. Voluntarily provided safety information is protected from disclosure by federal law. But more importantly, there's blame-free reporting, which is enshrined in the process. Here's a screenshot of one of the sections of the ASAP program. I attached a link on the bottom if you want to look it up yourself, and I encourage you to do so. But I wanted to highlight two of the sections of this passage. Note how they describe how issues are resolved through corrective action rather than punishment or discipline. As a result, aviation is one of the safest industries around, with less than 300 deaths reported annually worldwide for the past 2 years. By contrast, before COVID, one study had medical errors as the third leading cause of death in America, trailing behind heart disease and cancer. The study attributed over 250,000 deaths per year in the U.S. alone to avoidable medical error. Yet people have still less concern about undergoing a medical procedure than flying an airplane. So why is that? Some of it has to do with visibility. You're less likely to see this on the 5 o'clock news than you are to see this. And if you see a plane crash, you're much more likely to remember it. You're also much more likely to remember a forensic failure than you are something else that's innocuous on the news. At some point, the weight of problems will become too much and the government will take action. For over 2 decades, we had a national speed limit because state compliance was linked to receiving federal funds. We still have a national drinking age for the same reason. If the federal government has the tool, they can decide to use it at some point. The most effective way to promote change on this issue would be for the federal government to not provide any funding to any forensic operation that did not incorporate a root cause process into whatever they're doing. This type of change isn't hard for the federal government to impose, nor the funding recipient to comply with, and can actually happen fairly quickly, as early as the next grant cycle. While mandating ISO accreditation for all labs and all sections would be the most effective way, because you're putting a robust quality system in place more than just root cause and corrective action, it would be more complicated and take longer to roll out. Either of these initiatives would establish a mechanism for us to learn from our mistakes, but we have to be practical and pragmatic and see how we're going to try and put this into effect. Creating consequence-free reporting environment will be the key to ensuring that we can not only learn from our own problems, but from those of others, and even those we have never met before. But it'll take time to develop. But with the input of other forensic professional organizations and modeling after other industries like aviation or medicine, we could develop something and we could put something in place that would actually shore up the entire industry and really cement our foundation. Channeling Bertillon, we've identified the institutional reasons that we're bad at solving our own mysteries and identified steps we can take to allow each laboratory to learn from when things go wrong and share that information with other laboratories so they don't make the same mistake. These steps will shore up the cracks that have appeared in our foundation. Because forensic science is strong, forensic science is critical to the criminal justice system. We can take these steps ourselves, or we can wait to be told. What I know for sure is if we don't do anything, the same mistakes will keep happening and the cracks in our foundation will become much more robust, and eventually something will fail. I've always believed that we should leave the world a better place than we found it. We've been given the opportunity to improve every aspect of how forensic science is practiced. I've shown you the problems as I see them and outlined some potential solutions. Thank you for taking time to listen today. If you have any questions or would like to continue this discussion, please feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is here. Thank you for taking the time today.